Enjoy a Kraken game with the whole family when you get a Pepsi Family Ticket Bundle. Get 4 tickets, 4 Pepsi beverages, 4 hot dogs, and 1 box of popcorn, all for a discounted price. Head to seattlekraken.com/tickets for more info. Support your local youth hockey teams by becoming a billet. Kraken Youth Hockey Association is seeking families interested in hosting youth players for the season. Billet families provide housing and support to youth who have moved away from home to pursue their hockey careers. Help a dream come true and learn more at KrakenCommunityIceplex.com.
And welcome to Signals from the Deep, episode 26. Piper Shaw with you as always, joined by the great JT Brown.
Hold on, sorry, I wasn't paying attention.
Okay, I'm sure you weren't.
I was looking at my notes.
That's
That's
fine.
going right at the end after the outro. That is the little clip.
No, I think we keep that. This is the intro to the episode, folks.
I'm sorry, everybody.
Hello. We are in business on Signals from the Deep. You've already heard from producer extraordinaire Grant Beery.
It's good to be back in the same room.
Come on. Thanks for tuning in. I'm here. I'm present. I am ready. And let's get it going.
Yeah, we're already having fun, folks, because on this week's episode, you are going to hear from defenseman Josh Mahura, a.k.a. Muzz. We get into his nickname and so much other stuff. Josh is awesome. He has such a great personality, and he's really great. So I'm happy that everyone's going to get to know him a little bit better. So stay tuned for that. But first, we're going to start by talking about family, because the Kraken's mom's trip is coming up, or maybe has happened, depending on whenever you are listening to this episode. They have had, I believe, just one dad's trip in the history of like the franchise. So they had a dad's trip. This is the first mom's trip. And I believe that everyone is going to be coming to practice on Sunday, the 26th? I don't know. I'm terrible with calendars and dates. And then going to Edmonton and then back here for a game against Anaheim, because it's a back-to-back there. So that should be fun. Looking forward to that. But JT, I imagine you have had parents' trips from your time playing in the NHL. So I was curious if you had any stories or any insight into kind of what that's like to have your parent with you when you're going to work.
It's a lot of fun. So I was able to do one father's trip with Tampa. Obviously, like you said, it's not every single year that they do it. And it was actually pretty cool for that trip. It was, God, where did we go? We went to St. Louis. We went to Dallas and Carolina, which for my dad was pretty cool, just being from North Carolina, went to North Carolina State. So also to be able to be on that trip when we played in Carolina was pretty fun. Obviously, they're on the plane, they're with you, whether it's at meals, but at the same time, they kind of get to go off and do their own thing. I know, I believe it was in St. Louis, they toured the Anheuser-Busch facility as well. So they planned things for the fathers to do. Well, obviously some guys need to take their pregame naps, so there has to be some little bit of structure. But at the same time, it was kind of fun to have him, especially as being a former professional athlete, to kind of see how things, I guess, changed a bit as well from when he was, playing football, then to, being on our planes and, just seeing how good, we really have it in the National Hockey League. And we always say the NHL, yes, it does stand for the National Hockey League, but the Never Hungry League. And he was like, I've never been more full than when I was on that trip. How many different meals were they feeding you? How many, whether it's the plane you get off, you have meals at the rink. There's just so many different meals. So he was having his best life. But I think one of my favorite parts was St. Louis, the hotel we stayed at was connected to the casino as well. And so a lot of the dads and their kids, they're all just going down. We're going to the casino, we're playing games. But I'm pretty sure my dad sat at the penny slots for like 5 hours. And I'm like that. I think he ended up coming out and we went back to the room afterwards, and, I was already back in my room and I had already lost everything. And I'm like, Dad, did you win? You've been there for a long time. I think he came out of there with like $10. And I'm like, you just spent how many hours doing? He just kept pulling the slot. I'm like, you didn't want to just go play with me? We could have played, we could have won, we could have gone out to dinner. He's like, nope, I was sitting there having a great time. So for one of the full days, or basically a full day, he was just sitting at the penny slots trying to win there. I'm like, I wanted to go play blackjack, wanted to go do, you know, whatever other game. And he was like, nope, you're good. You're on your own. And I'm going to go play the penny slots. So I met him in the room multiple hours later after, and I'm like, yeah, that was a long, long time for you to be sitting there. And he's like, I put in $20 and I left with 30. I'm like, that's just too much
Was
time.
it worth it? Was it worth it?
It was the 6 hours worth
and
the
you
time.
sacrificed how much of your time with me, your son?
I'm sure he needed a little break from me as well with all the different time. But no, it's definitely fun to have them out there. And, you know, the converse side would be like, we didn't end up going on a mom's trip. So my mom was always like, well, when is there going to be the mom's trip? Like, I want to go on one. And we didn't end up having one on with Tampa or moving around and then just different teams. It may not have just been that year for the trip. But you know, I think it's definitely cool to be able to see, you know, your family, whether it's mom. I think some teams even do a siblings trip. And, you know, so they've seen that side of it as well. I've never been a part of one of those, but I would imagine maybe a sibling trip might be a little bit more crazy.
There's no way you'd let your sister come with. There's no way.
No,
I've never even met her. I've just heard so much that I just already know that you would be like, oh, I'm an only child, actually.
Yeah, sorry, Tasha. My brother would come first. He would go on the trip first, and then if we had another one, then yes, Tasha might have an opportunity. But yeah, I love her to death, but she's not coming on the trip.
Well, and she lives in St. Louis.
Yeah.
Speaking of St. Louis, I wanted to ask though, going back to talking about, I don't know if people are aware that your dad was also a professional athlete in a different sport. Like that might be news to some people who are listening to this for the first time. What was it like for you and your dad kind of navigating your career in the National Hockey League, being that he had that kind of, you know, that background in what being a professional athlete should be like, but also just completely different kind of cultures and not expectations around the sport, but, you know, like just functions of how things are, even the schedule alone, right? Like a football schedule versus an NHL schedule.
I definitely think it helped me in a few ways, especially, you know, growing up, obviously, you know, the work ethic and like knowing what it takes to get to the highest level. Cause he's already done that, you know, even though it was a different sport and, you know, growing up, he didn't necessarily like, he doesn't skate. He's North Carolina, you know, football was his main thing, like playing basketball, football and baseball, like all the main sports were there, but never really was hockey. So like never really was an X's and O's thing for me as I was growing up playing hockey, which I think I enjoyed. You know, there wasn't, you know, that added pressure of me trying to, you know, replicate him and be a football player where he can be a little bit more hands-on, right? So like for him, it was more just, hey, what is an
attitude, a work ethic thing.
Yep. So I watched, you know, I'm coming off the bench or coming towards the bench and I'm frustrated, you know, head down, slam the door. Like that's what he would talk to me about. He wouldn't talk to me about, you know, making the turnover or, you know, having a bad play. It was like, hey, you need to be a leader, whether it's your play on the ice, what you're doing off the ice, you know, and just instilling that in me as I grew up. But then I even think, you know, going into my actual playing career and, you know, getting to the top level and didn't play every single game. And at times that can be frustrating, but, you know, having somebody who had played and had been a professional, just be able to talk to him about, you know, what it's like, even just, you know, to tell you, hey, like at the end of the day, you're at the top of your profession. Yes, you want to play every single game. Make sure you're ready. What are you doing to, you know that the next time you're in the next game, that you will be ready to perform or you're going to do your job. So just little things like that. And just having, you know, him having the right mindset, but also having gone through a lot of different things. And, you know, how do you deal with a coach? How do you deal with, you know, like I said, not playing every single game, which is something that not everybody has kind of gone through. So I think even, you know, from those two perspectives was pretty cool, but also, you know, like whether it's picking college, like where are you going to go? Like he had done all of those things and, you know, all the steps to get to be in the National Football League. So, you know, just to have that as like even a sounding board was made things a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I would imagine too, probably when conversations came up too about like retiring or pivoting your career too, because nobody plays forever, no matter what you play, you know?
Yeah, he constantly reminds me he wishes that somebody would have paid him to talk about football and that he could wish that he's like, oh, I would love to have done that. I would have been cool. Why don't I think of doing that? So definitely still reminds me, you know, how cool it is that you still get to be around the game and still get to talk about the game. And, you know, obviously still every now and then he was at a Vikings game earlier this year as well. And I had a bunch of friends sending me the pictures when he was up on the Jumbotron as well. So like still gets to be around, but at the same time, not the same as, you know, what I'm doing and being able to be on the broadcast and being around the game and still talking about it. So it still kind of comes full circle of, you know, how cool this position actually is.
Speaking of talking about the game, let's talk about a little bit of Kraken hockey here, because the line of Maddie Beniers, Jaden Schwartz, and Capo Caco has just been great. Obviously, it's been great to see, you know, that midseason trade for Capo Caco really paying off. Maddie really seeming to find a more consistent gear, which has been great. What have you seen from them that you feel like has made them more effective lately?
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing you just said, the main word is consistent, right? I think that's the toughest thing in all of sports is to be consistent. But when you're playing with the same line, you start to figure out their tendencies. You figure out, you know, what they're going to do. You want to know what they're going to do before they do it or what their habits are. And, you know, I think their three styles really mesh well. And, you know, that's where you're starting to see, obviously playing, you know, on the same line, getting more minutes together definitely helps. But it also helps having, you know, obviously Maddie has unbelievable hands. He's got patience with the puck. He is a very skilled player. And I look at Schwartzy and the things that he can do, whether, I mean, we watched him net front. He's diving for blocking shots. I remember he lost a stick in the game and he dove twice to try to get pucks out. I mean, he just plays the game the right way. And obviously
so competitive.
100%. And then you look at what Capo has been able to do as well, you know, coming over, getting a new start and obviously using his size, getting to the net front. I think just watching them play, they feed off of each other. So you even see Maddie, you know, whether he's in the corner or it's Schwartzy in the corner, somebody's moving to the net front. They're kind of all just gelling off of each other. They all know how to score, right? They've all done it at one point. But you're seeing the puck go in the back of that and you're seeing their confidence start to grow as well. So the consistency is one thing. I watch how they play with the puck. I watch how they play without the puck. And whether the points are going in for them or the puck's going into the back net, they're finding it. They're still around it. They're getting the right chances. And yes, it's great to see the numbers in which they have been. They've been excellent when it comes to, you know, helping the Kraken, getting them that big goal when they need it. But I also look at
momentum too.
I look at this, even if it's not, you know, there's going to be games where they don't have points. How are they playing? They're still playing together. No one's trying to go 1-on-3. They're using each other very well. They're supporting each other. So again, there's all the little things. And I know it's like, we say that all the time, you have to do the little things. It's the quick support. It's making the right decision, but making the right decision also is a lot easier when you know that Maddie's going to be in this spot or Schwartzy's going to be net front and I can direct it towards the net no matter what, that's going to be a good play because they are there. So I think you're just starting to see a consistent play from them, but that comes from confidence. That comes from them playing. And then again, at the end of the day, you're seeing it go into the back of the net. So they're feeling good about their game right now. And that's been really good for the Kraken.
Yeah, I for me personally, like I've just really enjoyed seeing Maddie actually look confident on the ice. Like I feel like there's been such a shift in just like you said, how they're playing. But I also wanted to ask you, like, how does trust as a line kind of factor into that confidence too? Even when things aren't going your way, it really seems like they, you know, it's the reading off of each other, but it seems like they just trust that they know that the guy next to them is going to do the right thing no matter what.
Yeah. I mean, that comes with time, right? And that comes with just knowing the type of player. And when you're switching lines or, you know, early in the season and things aren't going good, it's easy to just not trust to make the right play or, you know, I'm going to hold on to this puck just a little bit longer so I can make that pass through. And again, when things are going bad, and it does, sometimes it's hard to just not get out of your own head when that's the case. But again, they're seeing it. And when you're feeling the game good, that's where you don't know. But like, I always look at it too. Like I played a little bit of a different style game, right? Like
you don't say,
just maybe a little different. But like, I knew that if I chipped this puck into the corner that, you know, Cedric Paquette was going to be the first one in on the puck, or Callahan, when I went in on the forecheck, I knew that he was going to be supporting me for the pass behind the net. So I didn't even have to look to see if he was going to be there. I just knew. And like, that just made you feel more confident in the plays you were going to make. Whether it's a chip, I didn't want to just chip the puck to give it to the other team. I knew that our center was going to be slashing with support just based on playing time with them and just being out there and reading the play. So again, a little bit different style, a little bit different, you know, way of thinking, but it still goes back to just knowing where they're going to be and what they're going to do. And you have to just read off of each other. And the longer you get to play on a line with somebody, the more minutes you're out there, the more times you've seen this situation, whether it's in practice or in a game. You just know what that player is going to do, and you don't have to think. You just go out and play.
Yeah. All right, we're gonna play a little bit of we're gonna play a little game.
Oh, I love games.
I know you do. Players play. You know. All right. It's called hot take, cold take.
Okay.
JT, I'm gonna give you a take. Okay, a hockey take. Not necessarily my opinion. This is not my opinion. I would like the record to show. It's just a take, and you tell me if you think it's a hot take or a cold take and why.
So we're going to go hot take as I disagree, and then cold take, I agree with the take. Is that
I believe so,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
Because if it's a hot take, then you're like, ugh, no, I'm not sure about that one, right? Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
So hot take, I don't. Okay, I'm just making sure. I just
Yeah.
wanted to get the set.
Yeah, because a cold take is one that you're like, okay, I agree.
Okay,
right?
I just want to make
Yeah.
sure the rules are set. We've had
Absolutely.
the podcast before. I remember when Allison was on, we're talking about the rules, and I just want to make sure that I get
Yeah.
the
Rules are important.
Mm-hmm.
right.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm the same way. I like a clear expectation.
Okay.
You know, I like to know where the goal is. All right, first one. We're going to start with the big one right out of the gates here. Connor McDavid assessed a 3-game suspension by the NHL's Department of Player Safety for a cross-check to the face of Vancouver's Connor Garland. 3 games, just under $200,000 in salary forfeiture. Is that too much? Is 3 games, $200K too much? Hot take or cold take? Or it is too much? Hot take or cold take?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with cold take. I'm fine with it. Well, let me just say this. So, like, I don't necessarily agree, or it's not okay to cross-check somebody in the face. That's clearly against the rules, since we are very rules-oriented. But at the same time, like, I can understand why, or, you know, being in that situation, they were tangled up. Garland kind of tackled them down again. They wouldn't really hold them up. They're 6-on-5. They're trying to score. They're down in the game, and then seeing like a heat of the moment type situation where he does cross-check him. Obviously, no one really goes and like, all right, I'm going to cross-check him in the face, but it just ended up being higher than what you'd want. He'd probably, if he did it again, he would have just cross-checked him in the chest, and then you save yourself, obviously, getting suspended in this situation. But, you know, clearly it ends up getting the match penalty. I agree that it's not okay to cross-check somebody, so I'm okay with the suspension. But then I also look at the other one. Obviously, Myers was suspended as well. They both ended up getting 3 games, and I look at that one and I'm like, oh, well, Bouchard really didn't do anything, right? Yeah. Like, that was
let's back up. While this was happening, just in case you missed it, folks, while the Connor Garland and Connor McDavid scramble was happening in the corner of the rink, essentially, Tyler Myers and Evan Bouchard. Tyler Myers of Vancouver, Evan Bouchard of Edmonton, they were getting into it as well. And Tyler Myers also cross-checked in the face Evan Bouchard.
So there was 2 of them, right? So there's 2 cross-checks. Right. I'm fine with it because they both end up getting the same amount of games. They're both very similar, although I can see why McDavid did it more so. Yeah, more of the frustration than obviously like Myers was a little bit just kind of, for me, it looked like it was more out of the blue, like out of nowhere, where again, it's not right to do it, but I can still understand. But I still will say it's okay. Like, I would say that the suspension's fine by me. If it would have been 1 game, I would think I would have been okay with it as well. But I don't sit here and be like, oh, 3 games is an egregious penalty. Now, I think if it would have been a hot take if it would have been over 3. I think that is like...
Some people think it should have been 4.
For me, I would have said over 3 would have been too much. Not a huge history for McDavid. 1 suspension, I believe what they said on the video where they were explaining it. 1 suspension, 1 fine so far in his career. So not a huge amount of, you know, dirty plays, I guess you'd say. But, you know, for that one, it is unacceptable, right? You can't do that. And I get people's, takes where it's, hey, you got to protect your stars. And where, you know, obviously Garland was holding him down, was, you know, in the tackling position or trying to, you know, keep him down. But it was a frustration penalty for me. It was more of one of those versus, you know, protect the star because somebody stuck their knee out and went knee to knee on McDavid. Right. So I'm okay with it. So it kind of gave, I guess, a little bit of both answers, but I think it would have turned for me a hot take had it been, you know, over those 3 games.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I would agree, cold take, but there are people who are all over the place on this one. I mean, Oilers Nation thinks that it should have been nothing.
As they should. I mean, again, that's a fan. That is a fan. You're right. As evidenced by the Oilers released this statement after the ruling. The Oilers organization is disappointed, and we share in our fans' frustration over the 3-game suspension of our captain, Connor McDavid. We support him through this process, and the organization and our fans look forward to having him back in the lineup versus Seattle next week. For our moms game, Connor's going to be back, everybody. Yeah, obviously tough one. Yeah, I remember, I believe it was Ovechkin. They did an interview with him, and they was saying I guess it sucked for McDavid, but it was really good for them because they don't have to play him. So Probably going to be ready for that game to be a very motivated Connor McDavid. Not that he ever needs any more motivation to play at the top of his game, which is the best in the world. So
Correct.
Definitely going to have to be ready for that as a team for a team defensive game and, try to limit his opportunities. But I would assume it's going to be a fired up McDavid that's looking to score every single time he gets the puck when that game comes around.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. All right. Our next hot take, cold take here.
Okay.
Having added Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos over the summer, among others, and sitting at .40 points percentage right now, the Nashville Predators are the most disappointing team this season. Hot take or cold take?
Okay, let's see. I would say based on, again, you look at the players that they brought in and how the offense has not been that way. Obviously, I think it's turned a little bit, but you look at as the season as a whole of where they were supposed to be. You look at them in the playoffs last year in the first wild card spot. I believe it was 99 points, and obviously below that mark or projected to be below that mark this year based on points. I could say that would be a cold take. I can agree with that. At the end of the day, you just look at where they were, where everybody expected them to be, and you're not seeing that same amount of offense, especially when you look at the 5-on-5 numbers. Guys that can score and that have proven they can score, with Stamkos and Marchessault to have adding the defense as well. So they have a great goaltender there as well too. So you're looking at all the different pieces in the parts.
You look at that roster and it's like, what?
But I think that's the hard part about, this sport, or I guess sports in general. So I'm not going to say that it's a hot take, or, I would say cold in the sense of I can agree with that. But you have to play the games, right? You can look at any roster on paper and say, this is going to be a good roster. This roster can win a Stanley Cup. This roster may not be, hey, this isn't good enough to win a Stanley Cup, but all of a sudden they make a run. They're in the playoffs and something special can happen. And that's why playing the games is so important. And you can't just go off of, hey, look at the team's record, or we beat them last time. Like every single game is a new opportunity. And you look at the roster sheets and you're like, oh, well, this team should beat this team. But at the end of the day, it doesn't work like that, especially in hockey. Anybody can beat anybody on any given day. But when you look at some of the offensive struggles, when you have the firepower that they do have, they definitely have guys that can score and can put up points, and it just isn't happening right now. So I'm going to agree with it.
All right. A cold take.
I'm sure there's arguments for other teams, though. I won't say that you couldn't pick somebody else, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to go against that one.
Yeah. Especially, you speak obviously very, very highly of Steven Stamkos. We talk about that all the time, having played with him. Even just him alone adding, that should make your team
better. You should be in a better position. Obviously, you look at his pedigree, not only in the goal scoring department and the points and everything he's done, but obviously he's a winner and a leader, moving into Nashville. And obviously you want to see, the players succeed and continuing. I played with Marchessault as well. I know how skilled of a player he is. And again, you want to be able to see those guys flourish the way that they have with other teams. And at the end of the day, right now it's not there, but I would say they have the skill. It could turn around at any moment. You just never know. They went on a run last year as well. So you just can never count anybody out. Same reason I say you can say they're not doing well, but then all of a sudden they can rattle off 10 just because you know exactly who's in their lineup.
Unrelated, but kind of related. Were you ever an Andrew Brunette fan, being a Minnesotan at all?
I would say, no.
Because he's
really.
A gopher.
Yeah, we don't talk about those guys.
Well, I know, but when you were a kid before you were a Bulldog, I don't know. My husband, Jake, loved Andrew Brunette when he was a kid growing up and watching him and then watching him, go into the league as a player and now as a coach. Definitely
obviously fan just knowing the history of it, but I also didn't really pay that much attention to watching games when I was a kid. I was just always out in the street with my little roller blades or out on the ice in the wintertime. So I never really watched a lot of hockey. So I didn't really consider myself to be a
fan
huge
of everyone.
fan of the sports and the teams and going through. Obviously just loved playing the game more so than even watching it.
Yeah. All right. Next question here. All right. So we know that scoring in the NHL has been steadily going up kind of year over year. It's actually technically down a little bit right now. It's 3.12 goals per game on average this year, down from 3.18 and 3.14 the last 2 years, something like that. But as scoring has gone up, goalie pads have also gotten smaller. Since, from what I could find online, since 2005, 2006, they've been getting increasingly smaller. The gear overall, 11% reduction that year, and just continually smaller and smaller, less protection, less coverage there for the goalie. So the question is, with scoring going up, do you think that goalies should be able to lobby, perhaps, to get larger pads back? Hot take or cold take?
Hot take.
Hot take.
I disagree with that. I think
Okay.
goalies should get even smaller pads. It would have probably
No
helped.
gear.
It would have helped my scoring when I was playing. I feel like I think the overarching thing is like everybody wants to see goals, right? Like
Right.
you want there to be a lot more scoring. So I don't think you need to get any bigger pads. You could say stay the same would be right in the middle. Maybe a warm take instead of a hot or cold. Just let them stay the same. But I'd be fine if they put on like player shin pads. Like that would probably be a fun way to watch the game. There'd be a lot of goal scoring. There wouldn't be a lot of saves. It would be, it would definitely be a high scoring affair if that was the case. So I'm definitely against. How about this? How about I'm going to change this one a little bit more? If the goalies end up getting bigger pads, then then a bigger net.
Okay.
That's been talked about before. I don't think it ever happened, but they talked about making the net bigger, right?
Like, I don't think we need a broom ball net, which that also probably would have helped me as well. But at the end of the day, I'm not a goalie fan. Like,
Yeah.
I want to see.
I
I want to score. Like, I want to see, crazy, cool plays. I mean, I guess I do like some of the saves, like, a scorpion save or like. But they don't need bigger pads, I guess, to make a windmill glove save, or a diving glove save. Yeah. So, no for the pads.
Yep. Hot take.
Smaller pads would be the better.
Smaller pads.
Yes.
I want to stay on the goalie thing here. This is a hill I will die on, so I want to get your hot take, cold take on this. I think they should reverse the trapezoid. So you can only play outside of the trapezoid. As a goalie, you're not allowed to play the puck behind the net. So if you're going to play the puck, it's got to be in the corners or in front of the crease.
Hot take.
Hot take. Okay.
Hot take. The corners are a long ways away for the goalies. Like that is a
chaos.
I don't know. We see Joey out there all the time.
I just think of the amount of minuses I would eat because the goalie wants to go to the corner to play the puck versus being like right behind the net. I think if the goal, another one would be if the goalie goes back to play the puck, you should be able to hit him. Now
we're talking JT Brown hockey.
Now we're talking about, we already talked about a little bit of player safety, and I understand that that's a counter argument to like player safety, but at the same time, like I would have taken out some goalies for sure.
They got a lot of pads on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and fair enough. Like I just feel like if they go back there, you want to be a player and handle the puck, I should be able to run you into this third row. Now, there would be a lot more fights. It might turn into just chaos on the ice if that were the case, and I understand why it's not.
And you would love to call that game.
Oh, I would love to call that game, be a part of one of those games. Yeah, that would be insane.
Why does it sound like the beer league games that you've played here in the Kraken? I shouldn't say beer league, the Kraken Hockey League.
I mean, I've
league.
never checked a goalie, okay, in an adult league game. And I don't plan to, but if they change the rules, we'll see.
Okay.
Maybe that'll go back. I don't know.
It's still a hill I will die on. I want to see the reverse trapezoid someday. I miss days of like Marty Turco and Patrick Waugh where they would play the puck all the way to like, the red line.
I would be okay with just getting rid of it, to be honest with you. They can just play it wherever.
Okay.
That's like kind of the in-between for having to be in the corner. Like they can still play it behind, but if they want to go to the corner and then the players on the ice can end up eating a minus because they're so far away, they flub one. Like I will give you that. I will.
Right.
I would say just get rid of the trapezoid so then they can play it wherever they want to. And
so we have hot take on the goalie pads, lukewarm take on the trapezoid.
Okay.
All right.
I'll take it.
Okay. Next one. We're going to talk about outdoor games. Folks, in case you have not seen this news yet, the Winter Classic for 2026 is going to be held in Miami, the Winter Classic, between the Rangers and the Panthers. And the Stadium Series in 2026 is going to be held in Tampa between the Bruins and the Tampa Bay Lightning. So you have 2 outdoor games for next year, both being held in Florida. Here's your hot take or cold take. Should Florida or warm markets be holding outdoor games?
Should they?
In your opinion?
Yes, I think they should. So, well, I guess is that a hot take, cold take? Because, I guess the question would be: is it they should or shouldn't?
Okay, then I will.
Because we're in the between.
You're right. I'll phrase it differently.
Say warm markets should not be hosting. Okay, so if you
which
say
this is obviously also not the first time that this has happened, but there have been plenty of outdoor games in warm places. But to have 2 be in Florida, so I'm
hot take.
Okay, there you go.
At the time recording this, I saw it on social platforms. It did snow in Florida.
It's did.
Snowing in New Orleans right now.
So
it did. Good point.
Just throwing
Good
that.
point.
I mean, it's not an everyday occasion, but no, I like that different teams are, I guess not always different teams, but like different markets, different places are getting to experience it. Cause I also feel at times it can feel like the nostalgia kind of wears away from the outdoor game. You get a lot of the same teams, the same markets, getting to be in those games. I think it's a good thing for the league. Now it is a challenge, a hard challenge for them, obviously with ice conditions. We can talk about, what was it? Was it Lake Utah? No, what was it? Lake Tahoe. Yeah.
Oof. Yeah.
Okay. See, I have bad memory problems. I knew it was something like that.
It was middle of COVID. I get it.
And like, you can talk about the ice conditions if the sun's out, or obviously they've done it in, the series between LA and Anaheim where they did it. And I can see why you're hesitant to go to some of those areas, but I also think from a fan's perspective, it's awesome to see, whether it's in Florida, you go to different markets and not always having to be, say, like an original 6 where it starts to feel at times, if that's not your team, obviously if it's your team, you love to see them in those games all the time and get to see it. But if it's not, I can see how you're like,
okay, but that being said, so I mean, Florida is hosting the 2 games, and you've got your 2 Florida teams in it, but then you also have the Rangers and the Bruins, so matchups are still around those same kind of
but it's in a different market,
6
right?
Like, teams, right?
It's in a different market. So like again, I just think as a whole, like maybe you go to maybe it gets to a spot where it's just 1 outdoor game a year, or every other year it switches between the Winter Classic Stadium Series, but obviously there's dollar signs that are involved with having these outdoor games and, bringing, to different, that's why it's nice to go to different places, right, too, because you think of all of the economy and what having that game and all the fans coming in and bringing them in, like what that can bring to the city,
because
too.
Florida famously is low on tourism, obviously. Just teasing.
Yeah.
Nobody knows
what?
Florida.
I don't know.
JT, I also know that you love Florida and that you love Tampa, so.
I just think that, again, it's a hot take. I want to see more games in California. I want to see more in Florida. Maybe put one in Carolina. You go to Dallas. You do all these places that maybe aren't your typical winter climate, and you just rotate them in a little bit more. How about that? Just rotate in a little bit more.
Absolutely. That's why it's on the list. Here's the last one that I have under hot take, cold take. So in the PWHL, if you score shorthanded, the penalty is over. You're back to 5-on-5, the jailbreak rule. Hot take or cold take, the NHL should adopt the PWHL's jailbreak rule.
They should adopt. I would say cold take. Okay. I love the rule. Do I think they will? I'm going to say no. I just don't see them changing it, but I love that aspect of it. Obviously, if you score shorthanded, it doesn't happen very often, but like, I like the idea of being able to now, that penalty being over. Another one I also like is that when you take the penalty, right? So it's 5-on-5, you take the penalty, the rest of the players on the ice have to stay on the ice. So you can't change. So it like helps also if your defense takes the penalty, now you have a forward back. So like, I like those rules. I don't necessarily see it changing. If it did, I wouldn't be against it. So I'd say cold take. I really like the idea though of the.
But do you think it should?
Yeah.
Would you want to see that happen in the NHL?
Yeah, I'd be for it. Yeah. I think that's a great innovation, right? That's probably the right word to say, like to try to change the game and make it a little more entertaining as well. And again, that pushes for, teams to try to score a little bit more, right? And maybe I should take that away because I was out there penalty killing when I played, and like I wasn't trying to I was trying to block the shot. So maybe, if you have that rule, maybe more of your skill guys are going to get out there and start penalty killing. So hopefully you can get the shorthanded goal. But I think that also builds into the strategy, right?
Absolutely.
Hey, you know what? Early in the game, maybe we don't need the shorthand. We want to put our main penalty killers out there. We're focusing on just killing the penalty. But if you're down a goal or you're down 2, now you're shorthanded. Like, hey, let's get rid of this penalty. Let's get some of our top line guys out there and see if they can't create something shorthanded and try to score. I just think it adds a new entertainment value to the game, and I'm with it.
Totally. I love it too. Grant?
Oh, I'm down with it. Anything that has the potential to create more offense and chaos, let's do it.
Yeah.
No pads for the goalies.
No pads. No pads. Add the jailbreak rule.
Right.
I mean, we got some big ideas here.
Absolutely.
I think they're good ideas.
Yeah.
And checking the goalie. I'm putting that one in there.
Does Gary listen?
I don't think so. Gary, let us know.
Yeah.
Even if he listens, he's not going to implement because I said you need to let the goalies be checked. So.
Yeah, and he shouldn't. We're the peanut gallery here on Signals from the Deep. All right, well, with that is the bulk of what we have for our main part of this episode. But truly, the main part, the thing that you've all been waiting for, really is this great interview with Josh Mahura. Again, he was great, and please enjoy the man that they call Muzz. Well, welcome to Signals from the Deep, Josh Mahura. You are our first guest here in a while because we've been on the road so much, as we're very aware of. You go by Muzz in the room. We have questions about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question is why. I think for hockey, it's very easy for nicknames. You look at like McCann, Canner. You look at Montour, it's Monty, or Stevenson is Stevie. So like, what's behind Muzz? And like just from like hockey perspective, it's always not that creative. And for me, I like that nickname.
Yeah, no. Well, thank you guys for having me on here first. I appreciate the invite to come on and talk with you guys. But man, I don't really know where it started, honestly. I think in junior, when I was in Regina, one of my coaches there just randomly started calling me one day, and the guys were like, where did he get that from or whatever? And I was like, I don't really know. And just kind of stuck from then on. So I don't really think there was much behind it by any means. And it is kind of random. And people ask me that all the time, and I don't really have an answer for it, but it's just kind of stuck with me throughout the years now.
Yeah, I don't know, because we don't ever like see you just like with a mustache or like, like having that be like a part of what, we see every day. And like, that might've been why. So I didn't know if there was a deeper meaning or how that came about, but it's definitely one of the more interesting ones that's not just, adding a Y onto somebody's last name or first name.
Yeah, no, I think I assumed at first it was just because my last name started with an M, and then he somehow just threw it together. But
there's no Z.
I know, and I couldn't grow facial hair anyways back then either, so it didn't really have anything to do with that.
Well, that almost makes it more special too. Like it adds to the story. Can't grow facial hair, and all of a sudden you still have Muzz. So that's awesome.
I know. I was gonna say, have you ever had just like an insane stash to like go with it?
No, I would. Come to like Movember back then, I would do like the Just for Men or get the mascara to put over like the lip, and it still wouldn't really show. It's pretty much just dyeing my skin or painting my upper lip anyways. So
yeah, I can't really say anything. I don't really get very much facial hair either. So I was always doing Movember, or like when you're getting into the playoffs, like I was trying to cheat and like start early just so I could get a little bit of a head start.
A few weeks early, and then
exactly.
You're trying to take pictures in the light so everyone can see it and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I don't really know how it fully came to be, and it wasn't from a mustache or anything. So
all right.
Well, I don't know. Chandler Stevenson's got a pretty great mustache going. Maybe. I mean, I don't want him to take your name, but I'm like, it would make sense if his name was Muzz. I mean,
there's definitely a few guys around the league that constantly have the mustache, and that's like part of their look. That's where I was like, the question kind of came from it, looking at it from that perspective.
Yeah. All right, we got a couple of really hard hitting questions for you here, Josh Muzz, as we should say. I don't know how much you know about one JT Brown, but he is notorious for his candy obsession. He loves candy. He always has cups and cups of like sugar candy when he's between the benches there. So if you ever need a snack.
I might have to snag a couple then.
Little sugar rush, yeah. I can hand one over.
He brings me Starbursts during intermission. So we have a couple of candies, his favorite candies, that we want you to rank.
I do need to put a note out there, though. Like, when you're ranking these, I don't eat chocolate, though. So you have to put that into consideration. You're like, oh, well, maybe I like this candy more. It's not that good, but they're all, just regular candy, not
like
chocolate.
sugar
candy.
candies.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, and I didn't know what some of them were. So if you don't know what some of them are, you can skip them. So one, Nerds Clusters. You know what that is?
Yeah, okay. I know those.
Sour gummy worms, Swedish fish, nibs, which are like the little, okay, perfect, the little Twizzler things, Starbursts, and then sweet tart ropes.
Sweet tart ropes. Okay.
Oh, and one more thing, since we're right here. I'm sorry, but
it's a lot.
For the Starburst, I only like the red and pink one, so you can throw away the.
And you don't even do the other ones.
Okay,
no.
well, it's up to him if he wants certain colors.
Well, I'm just saying he's rating like the candy I like. So those are the ones I like. If he hates the yellows, then it's like, okay, well, I'm just giving you an out that you don't have to grade the yellows. Okay.
So go sour gummy worms, Swedish fish, Nerds Clusters, nibs, Starbursts, sweet tart ropes.
Okay.
You can take a second if you need.
Yeah, I might need some help memorizing them too, but I think in last place, I would go with the sweet tart ropes. I think in fifth, I would probably go with the Starburst. That might be a hot take at this table. I don't know, but
okay.
4, probably the Swedish fish. 3, probably the nibs. Right. I do like nibs. I'm more of just a regular Twizzler guy.
At least you like the licorice. That's fine.
But I do dabble in both. I don't discriminate either. I don't discriminate either. And then what am I missing? I got
sour gummy worms and Nerds Clusters.
Sour gummy worms and Nerds Clusters in one. I think I like the Nerds Clusters. We actually have those in our house a decent amount of the time. So I
give them an A on grading list. I think it's pretty darn good. Like, the only one I'd say, I think I probably would put Starburst as my 6 because I just don't like them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair.
But then the sweet tart ropes would probably be right in front of that, and then kind of basically go all the way. I mean, the clusters are by far my favorite. I think that's the top one right now. And then as you go down, it's pretty much, I would say you did a very good job.
Yeah, no, I
like them all.
It's his opinion. You can't tell him he's wrong.
Yeah. Okay. First of all, do you know who I am? And I definitely can still say that it's wrong. But yes, no, I like the list. I don't have to say that I dislike it or but at the end of the day, I will. So
I know.
I think it was very good.
No, I appreciate it. We're a big candy family too. So we started dabbling into the Swedish candy now too. Where my girls ordered it online and we got freaking tub of it.
Are you sharing with Lars?
No, I haven't told Lars we got him, but
probably don't.
I'm assuming he's probably got a few at home anyways. But so we kind of got into those, and that's kind of been the go-to.
So
lately.
you don't have to go 6, but let's just say, what's your top 3 then? If you're right now.
Right now, my top 3, I'd probably go. Well, definitely Nerds Clusters would be in there regardless. I'd probably throw that at 2. The Swedish candy. I don't know, I just know the brand Bubs.
Okay.
That we get it from, different flavors of it.
What color are they?
Well, they're all different colors, but the ones we got, they're almost little skulls type of things, and they're I don't know how to explain them, but they're almost got more of a marshmallow texture to them.
Lars has given me some before, but I remember they were blue and yellow. So I'm not sure what.
Yeah, no,
and they were just out of his hand. So I don't know what the packaging looks like.
A little sweat mixed with it too. Yeah. So, and then 3 probably Twizzlers, just over nibs. That's probably my top 3 right now.
I do like Twizzlers. Nibs I get into there's times where I just eat them all the time, and then I'll take 2-3 months away from them, and then regular Twizzlers and go back and forth. But have you ever had the Swedish candy? I don't know the name of it either, but it's like a strawberry. It looks like a strawberry.
I don't think I have, no.
Okay, that's my favorite Swedish candy. When I was in Sweden, I spent a lot of time in the candy section.
I believe that. I totally believe that.
There's also a place in Ballard it's Scandinavian Specialties, I believe.
Yeah.
And I've gone there quite a few times to get some Swedish candy. So if you don't want to wait for online, that's a place where I've gone plenty of times, and they have a giant selection of not only just Swedish candies, but other stuff too. So if you want to get your fix, that's a good spot.
Yeah, I might have to check it out then.
All right. Josh, would you consider yourself a football fan at all?
Yes. Honestly, only since I've been living in the USA. I think in Canada, growing up, it was never as big of a deal and just didn't have a team to cheer for. But, once I started playing pro and came out here, you get into the fantasy football and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would consider myself a football fan.
How did your fantasy football go this year?
Not great. Not great. I didn't finish last in the one league I'm in, but I didn't finish first either.
So I know that for the team fantasy football league, Jaden Schwartz won the last 2 years in a row.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how it went this year?
Pretty sure Turbo won this year.
Oh.
From what I heard. And I actually don't think Schwartzy did very good. Don't quote me on that, but I know Turbo won because he was asking everyone for his money. So that's all.
That's a good way to figure it out.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Well, Piper and I are Vikings fans. Do you have a specific team that you follow or just watching in general? Or more so from a fantasy perspective?
Yeah, no, honestly, just from the guys on my fantasy team I cheer for. I guess if any team I would mostly cheer for now would be the Cardinals because I spend a lot of time in Arizona in the summers now. So I guess them, but even then, I don't really have a specific team that I exactly root for.
We still want to get your take on what's going to happen. It's going to be this weekend for the championship series. I believe is the Commanders versus Philly, and then it would be the Bills and Chiefs. So who do you have in those games? Even though you may not follow them, who do you think is going to make their way to the Super Bowl?
Who would you like to see, maybe?
Yeah, honestly, the teams that I would like to see, I don't know if they're the teams that are going to win, but I like I want it to be the Bills and the Commanders to win, but
I love underdogs.
yeah, everyone's it's not looking that way.
Commanders too.
I think with Mahomes, you just can never count him out. So I honestly think they'll probably win it again this year, just from the way it goes. But I'd like to see the Bills and Josh Allen get there, and then obviously with the Commanders and Jaden Daniels, the rookie, is a cool story. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm excited to watch either way.
I think there's something to be said too about having new teams go in,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm the biggest, I don't know, I mean, not the biggest, but like, I hated seeing Tom Brady in there constantly. And like, I understand his greatness, but at the end of the day, I'm like, can somebody else win?
Yeah,
Like,
I
you've won
know.
too many times. Like, let's just get somebody else. So like, it's not that I dislike like those teams, but I'm like, at the end of the day, if the Vikings aren't going to be in it, I want to see somebody else. I don't want to keep
interesting.
seeing them. So like, I can see how like that can happen also with Mahomes and how they've continued to just keep getting to
it's
the
totally
championship and the
happening.
Super Bowl.
That's a dynasty.
So like eventually, unless you're a fan of that team, sometimes you're just like, can we get somebody else in there? So I can see, wanting to get the Commanders or get the Bills in there and just have somebody new for a change.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. It's the same way. I think everyone hates the Chiefs now unless you live there, you're from there now. And it's just, I think it's kind of like you said, just natural of when you're winning so much and you're so good, you just want to see them get dethroned. But, regardless, it's like I said, I think they're going to win anyways. But I'd like to see the Bills and Josh Allen get there.
Yeah.
Fair.
So moving along a little bit, Josh, the last time that we did like a sit down interview was right at the beginning of the season. And I had talked to you a little bit about your billet family and how you happen to have the same billet family as Chandler Stevenson and Riker Evans, and how Riker was there with you at the same time for like a week or two, something like that. Yeah. But at the time, you hadn't really had a chance to like talk to Riker much yet, obviously. I was just curious, like how it's been getting to know him and play with him and how he's kind of evolved since he was just like the little twerp on the ice back then.
It's pretty crazy to think about actually. Just going through there, and like I said, I didn't know Chandler before either, but knew that he lived there as well. And obviously for a little bit when Riker was there with me, but it's been pretty cool to see him then, and then hadn't seen him for quite a few years, and then coming into this year and playing with him now, and obviously he's having a great season, so it's been pretty cool to be able to see that and just be kind of on the team with him. Like you said, you go from that time where he was like 16 or 17 to now, like, I don't know. What is that? I don't know how many years it's been since
18,
then. But
I'm just kidding.
Yeah, pretty much. It honestly seems like that. I don't. But it's pretty cool to be able to play with him now.
With that being said, like, what is Riker like? People love to call him, Garth is his nickname or his middle name or, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, he's just kind of like an enigma. What is he like?
Yeah. He's pretty quiet. He sticks to himself a lot. And, we've gone to him to crack it a little bit this year. Getting out there. I know the guys are saying when he does his lineup reads, and stuff like that, they always give it to him a little bit about he talks or like whatever it is. But, he's an awesome guy. He works really hard. And he's always kind of doing his own thing, getting ready to go. And, he's obviously a great teammate and a great player. So it's a lot of fun to be in the room with him.
I will say though, like lineup reads can be a little intimidating at times. Like there's always one person who is like super good at it.
Really?
At least I've always been on team, like somebody just loves doing it and they have so much energy. And it's just like, I mean, for me, it would have been Eric Nielsen, especially when I was in Syracuse. Like he was by far, like he even had like, he was thinking about things. It was planned out.
Yeah.
It was.
He had a gesture on cue.
Yeah, even to the point of like getting you to do like the claps on your pants and like going through, like he would get everybody going. And it's like, how do you follow that? Like, how is it somebody go like, so who on the Kraken would you say is the best at doing those reads?
The best. John Hayden has a really good lineup read.
Wow. Why am I not surprised?
Sneaky, really good. Riker actually has a really good lineup read too, which I think caught guys by surprise. Okay. I would say those are the top two. I'm not a great lineup read guy. I like to talk, but then all of a sudden when all the attention's on me, I don't like to talk. So
you want to get it right though too.
Yeah.
Sometimes there's little circles and you don't want to put the wrong line or the wrong person out and say it. And it can be difficult. Like you don't want to get a penalty either. You said the wrong person was going
You're
in.
sending the wrong guy out. So yeah, I don't know. There's a couple guys that got a good lineup read, but I would say those two have stuck out for me this year the most.
I think there's time too. We always used to do it where, like if you won, that person would keep going again. I feel like there's a couple times where like I had to do it like 4 or 5, 6 times in a row, and I'm like, I don't want to do the lineup.
You should be good at it. You're a broadcaster.
This is before, okay? Like I would much rather control the music and like, which is also another pressure, right? Like I'd much rather have my phone on doing that versus like getting up doing the lineup read. It just wasn't something I ever really wanted to do. And I'm like, I felt like every time it was my call or like when the coach is like looking around the room, I'm like, don't be me, don't be me, don't be me. Because I just felt like we were going to go on a run and all of a sudden I was going to have to do it 5, 6 games in a row.
Oh, wouldn't that be so hard?
It would. Yes, it would. Now I feel like I would be fine, but like I just never wanted to do it.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way. Like you said, you obviously hope you're reading it for a long time because that means the team's going on a run, but at the same time, it's like when you do get after a couple wins and you know it's coming, you're just like kind of waiting for it. And you're like, damn, like, do I got to think of something to do different? Do I keep it the same?
Exactly, yeah.
Who's it going to be? Do I give nicknames? Do I go real names? Like, a lot that goes into it.
Josh, I got one more for you before we set you free here. I know that you have 2 golden retrievers.
Yeah.
They are just your little buddies. People love to learn about everyone's dogs. So what can you share with people listening just about your dogs and how they're enjoying Seattle as well?
Yeah. Our dogs are, we pamper them pretty good. That's for sure. They're loving Seattle. We take them outside a lot. They're loving the nature. They're loving the outdoors. We go over to the Marymore Park there quite a bit and let them run off leash and they get all dirty, rolling around in the mulch and all that kind of stuff. Our older one, he's an English cream. He's 4. He's kind of just an old soul, just trots around, loves his toys, loves doing his own thing. We always say like when he's giving you love or wants extra love, it means you kind of need it and he kind of knows. And then our younger one who's 3, his name's Mo, and he's just a complete sucker. Just love her. He'll just come lay his head on you all day. And if you stop petting him, he starts nudging your hand to give him some more. So they're a lot of fun. They keep us busy and we obviously take pretty good care of them. My fiance Ken, she spends a lot of time with them. So they're the best.
What's the older one's name again?
Tuck
and Mo.
Yeah,
That's
Tuck
right.
and Mo. Maybe I didn't say Tuck before when I was told said he was 4, but yeah, Tuck and Mo.
I wasn't going to go there, but since you said your dogs are getting dirty, then I'm going to assume you don't have any sort of pants that you want to put on the dogs when you go out to the park or when it's raining and when it's wet out. Just wanted to just make sure I
We
threw
already
that.
had this conversation
I know we
with
didn't go
Josh.
over
I
that
know
one
we
too.
went over the part of how they would, but I want to make sure that everybody knows whether or not you do or do not.
No, we don't. When we take them for a walk sometimes, we got them little raincoats with some hoods that
Oh.
I don't know how much they actually do, but they look real cute wearing them. So we throw them on and
Fashion statement.
Yeah, exactly. So when we take them to the park and they get all dirty, we'll wash them off fully and dry them. And they usually are still pretty dirty regardless, but it helps a little bit.
I love golden retrievers.
Yeah. Yeah,
they're
the best.
Their energy, their spirits.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Yeah.
I'm a
no,
cat
they're
person,
awesome.
so
I like cats too. I like
Yeah.
all kinds of animals, but golden
like dogs
retrievers are
too, but-
awesome.
Yeah.
You don't have any pets.
oh yeah, but I can
Last
still
time
like
we
cats.
talked about pets, you were like, "Well, I have kids." I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
"You
yeah.
can have both, JT." Like,
Hey, well, maybe eventually. Lily
Yeah,
is
yeah.
definitely on the wanting a dog stage right now, but I just said until she's old enough to pick up after the dog outside. Like, all right, I'm done doing that. I don't want to do it. So
yeah.
we're going to be petless for a while.
I was say you always say that Lily likes to pick up little like hobbies too, and then drops them in like 3 weeks. So
That's a kid. That's kids. for you.
100%, 100%.
The next big thing, I guess.
Well, anyway, all that being said, I love that we get full circle back to the dog.
I had to.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
had to. I'm sorry.
But thank you so much for joining us, Josh. You were awesome. So I hope this wasn't too much of a time suck for you. But
no problem at all. Thank you guys again for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Awesome.
Signals from the Deep is the official podcast of your Seattle Kraken and is a proud member of the Kraken Hockey Network. Hosted by Piper Shaw and JT Brown. Music composed by Benny Drawbars. Production by Grant Beery. Have a question for the show? Send an email to signals@seattlekraken.com or call the hotline at 206-279-7810. Your message could be featured on an upcoming episode.